right, so you've got a 70 series, you want to know about wheel bearings, this video is for you, front and rear. Let's get straight into it. Wheel bearings, 5 key points: the function, the importance, the maintenance, how often you should be maintaining them, when you should be looking at replacing them, hints and tips. Let's jump straight into it so you look after your 70 series and you don't have a mishap on that next trip. So wheel bearings, really easy one. What does it do? It allows the wheels to spin freely, just like that. Now, if they're over adjusted, you're going to have too much preload, generate heat, and you're going to have a premature bearing failure. If they're too loose, you're going to have too much, not enough preload, and you have up and down movement. It's going to affect wheel alignment, drivability, all those factors. We'll cover them off when you install them. All right, rear of the vehicle. We all know we love running bigger tires. The importance factor, maintaining these bearings correct, because bigger tires, more load, the bearing hasn't been replaced or upgraded. We've all put heaps more gear, GVMs, and if you're towing, all that load's increased. Same little bearing, maintenance, you must do it, and it needs to be very particular with the right grease and adjusted correctly. Now, design. These vehicles run a tapered wheel bearing. There's a large one and a small one. They look like this. So they're there, they need to be adjusted. They're not a set wheel bearing. You press it on or bolt it on as a wheel bearing hub assembly like other Land Cruisers or other vehicles. Now, they need to be service, adjust, and repack. They're not a sealed unit, so they're not going to do 100, 200,000 Ks. They're designed to be serviced like a trailer wheel bearing, but these are a bit bigger than a trailer wheel bearing. Probably a little bit underrated for such big, heavy loads and big tires, and that's why I'm expressing my concern that you maintain yours correctly. So the one thing I want to bring to your attention, 20,000 Ks is when you need to repack the wheel bearings. Every 20. Most people go, that's over the top, I don't need to do that. Look, it says it in the owner's manual. You don't want to get to 15,000 Ks and you've already done another 20 on top of it and you didn't do it and you're on a trip and you have a bearing failure, or better yet, the wheel comes off or something nasty happens because you haven't serviced the vehicle properly. So they state that the front and rear diff oil is getting inspected every 20 and replaced every 40. Meanwhile, the bearings get repacked or re-greased. That's a good time to clean them right down and inspect the bearings and make sure everything is safe and sound and how it is. Now the other one is the owner's manual. You may not have read it. Most people don't read unless they've got a problem or they're in a pickle. Now you need to go to the wheel bearing section and it states what grease you need to run. I'm going to run through some hints and tips and what I've found over years of maintaining these vehicles. The larger one is the inner bearing or the inside bearing. The smaller is the outer. They're tapered roller bearings, and how they work, and I mentioned about adjustment. Now, the larger bearings on the inside and the smaller is on the outside, obviously. They sit in the wheel bearing hubs like so, and then you have a locking plate and a nut and you adjust it. There's a big hub socket that you put on there and you adjust it up and you get the preload right. Now, when I mentioned grease, now wheel bearings, cleaning them, I highly recommend cleaning the bearing right down to inspect the rollers, roll them around, make sure there's no contaminants in there, and also seals. It's very important to make sure the correct seals used in there, it's installed the right way, and also it's installed correctly and it doesn't look like it's been pounded with a gimpy and it's all distorted and it's not sealing properly, because if you do water crossings or lots of dusty, like bull dust, red dust gets in there, that stuff turns into grinding paste when it gets into the bearings. So that also comes down to the freewheeling hubs, the star gasket, the hub gaskets. They need to be serviced and replaced as well, nice and clean and tight, so no contaminants get in there, because it's not something you pull apart just to go, I'll just have a quick look. So do the job, inspect it, make sure it's squeaky clean and it's good to go. Grease, I mentioned we had a failure. Why I'm using this grease? Like I said, we had a failure. It was actually on Ronnie's car. He was in the middle of nowhere, and from that date forward, like everything we do here, tried, tested, and always strive to make something better, stronger, and improve the product. So SKF, we consulted them, told them the weights, what we're trying to do, the bearings that we're running, and this is the recommendation from them to run this grease, the temperature ratings, and today we've had a really good run, and the actual bearings have lasted longer with the correct bearing grease in there. So that was really good, looking into things when you have a failure. Why did it fail, and how can you improve it and put a better product forward? So that's why we're using this grease, and have done for a long time now, and haven't had to replace as many bearings. Whereas if you run a heavy duty, high temperature bearing grease, it doesn't solidify, doesn't lubricate the bearings as good as it should, and you have a premature failure on the bearing, and especially for those that have heavy loads, large tires, driving for long times in hard environments. So with those things put forward, bearings, let's jump into the seals, hints, tips, what you need to do the job. So disclosure, I'm not a lubrication engineer, but after over 20 years of working in the industry, tried and tested, when you have a failure, always looking for something to improve your product. So finding a grease that works for the application in the real world is very important. Yes, specifications and all the technical data is great to have, but you've also got to cross that over with what works in the real world. And I'm confident this is the one for us. It's done us well. So if you're looking for a grease and you're having issues, I can definitely recommend the SKF. It's LG MT. You can get it in the cartridges or in the tin or bigger tins. Look, not sponsored or endorsed. I just want a product that lasts a long time for our customers. So if that helps you out, thumbs up. Now, seals, gaskets, parts, what's in there? Let's open it up. Okay, front wheel bearing. From the freewheeling hub, what's in there? There's a star gasket, there's a hub gasket, and I'll show you these guys, and then we'll go through the rear last. Star gasket, there's a hub gasket here as well. One of those guys. You've got a smaller bearing, that's the outside bearing. The inside bearing is a larger one. You've got locking nuts, and you've got two locking tabs that adjust the bearings, and you set them and you adjust the locking tabs. And then also you've got hub grease seals as well. So I'm running all genuine stuff here as well. And also if I'm replacing the bearings, I'm using the genuine Koyo bearings. I'm not a fan of cheap bearings. You don't pay that much more. Get a quality bearing, I can't recommend it enough. Same labor, same everything. You just know you've got a good quality product in there. Once again, good quality grease, clean job, and you'll have a bearing that's going to serve you well. So parts for the rear wheel bearings, what do you need? You've got to take the axles out of the car. You've got a hub gasket here as well. Like I mentioned, once you undo the locking nuts, take the nuts off there. Large bearing, small bearing, and rear grease hub seal. You'll see this guy's got a big lip and a shoulder on it. It doesn't go this way into the hub. That faces to the center of the vehicle, goes in there. I'll show you when we go to install that. So when you've got the rear apart, I always replace the axle seal, because you've got to take the axle out to get the wheel bearing hub off. Now, with that as well, if you've got a locker motor, good tip, engage the rear locker before you take the axles out, because the little locking ring, if you don't, can drop down, and let's just say that's a whole lot of fun to get back in. But I got a tip for that. So in the video coming with replacing and servicing your rear wheel bearings, when we get into the job, I'll show you that one, so stay tuned for that video. Also, a little trick as well, ABS and non-ABS run different hub seals, and so does the front and rear. So just don't think the hub seals are the same, they are different, so just be wary of that. And I don't know how to say this as well, I think it come from a workshop that actually installed the seal the wrong way up. I don't even know how that's possible. I was horrified when I saw that, and we actually had a guy's bearings fail because the seal, the lip was going the wrong way, was letting a whole lot of dust in there. So the seal orientation, it only goes one way. So there's lots of little hints and tips you can do, but if you're not sure, do one side at a time, check on the other side. But biggest tip, get all the parts, know you've got everything. I would always have a set of bearings, because there's no point pulling it apart and then going, I need to replace the bearings, and you've got to go get them. Car's off the road longer. Have the parts at some stage. You're going to need to replace these bearings. I would maximum life of the bearing. Look, they're not super expensive. If you're using the car for what it's built for, I'd say replace them every 80,000 Ks. Yes, you're servicing them every 20. So that means on their fourth service, so 80,000 Ks, you're replacing them. It's a bit like trailer bearings or bearings on a boat trailer. You know, if you're using that boat a lot, you're probably replacing them almost every year if you're using it a lot, or regularly, because you don't want to have a failure. It's not much fun on the side of the road with a busted wheel bearing. All right, lubrication and gloves. Like I said, it's grease, it's dirty, you're gonna get grease everywhere. No, it's not the job you're thinking of by doing the wheel bearings. Wheel bearing grease packer, hub, the locking nut, hub tool. If you've got one of these, it's gonna make your life a lot easier. So now you've got all the grease, all the tools, all the parts, it's time to do the job. Well, that's a wrap for this video. Until the next one, we're gonna run through step by step repacking the front wheel bearings and the rears. This video is about the bearings, the servicing, what you need to know. Hope it was helpful. Comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.